EMF meter electricians use. A digital thermometer, things like that. They actually use it for electricians, for construction workers. It's common equipment. So I have a dual reading thermometer, and I can shoot the laser across the room. If there is a variation of, I usually go with 5 degrees, then you might have something. But what you have to look at for the mundane is there a heater vent or is there a fan going? Is a furnace on? Because that can cause a variation, obviously. And if you're shooting your laser and it's going over a heater duct, then the initial temperature is hitting the far wall, but there's a deviation because there's heat blowing on it or an air conditioner blowing on it. But that's how we tell if there's a hot or cold spot. Is we'll shoot a digital thermometer across the room and look for a variation in the two temperatures. So, good question and good point is, hot and cold spots. What else we got? So, electrical anomalies, batteries drained, physical marks, hair being pulled, bruising. Walls bleeding. Never encountered that one. Gotta say.
I saw it in a movie once.
I would be taking...
I saw that once down in Arizona.
Really?
Now, you know what?
Yes.
I would love to see a wall bleeding because I would get a sample of that blood and get it to Markham ASAP.
Yeah. We determined it to be a pipe in the wall that had rusted, and there was a residual leak from further up the line, and the rust was actually coming through the wall. So, walls bleeding. It was an isolated spot, but these people actually put new drywall up, and then this blood spot came back from the ceiling. And we investigated, and it turned out to be rusty pipe and the rust was further up, so...
Check out Night Dreams' website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you.
Eric Cooper, S-4 Radio, on Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, gets deep into the paranormal.
Welcome back to S4. Tonight we're talking entity types, what constitutes a haunting. So I hope you're all enjoying tonight's show. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed for the last 2.5 years. Anyway, back to the show. So, as we're talking here, I've got these notes. We're going to talk about some of the dangers of the paranormal as well. And the next week we'll actually talk how to alleviate them. Michael, is it me or are UFOs on the rise? I mean, we're seeing daily activity, actually, especially in the Bellingham area.
Well, yeah. As you know, Peter Davenport's National UFO Reporting Center seems to be going haywire lately with all the new reports that are being reported and interesting reports. It's just... the fireball, the orange fireballs are just wreaking havoc around. People see them streaking across the sky and not necessarily even landing, like a meteorite would.
Mm-hmm.
A triangle series of lights are very popular, and different colors lights. Matter of fact, Peter was mentioning on Night Dreams Talk Radio last night about, just a few hours ago, let's put it that way, about different colored lights, actual yellow lights that were anomalous. And normally you don't see yellow, you will see maybe orange. Of course, red, green, and those kinds of things in strange formats, but yellow lights were kind of interesting. And then he was also mentioning of an alien robot entity sighting out in Federal Way, Washington, on the campus of the Weyerhaeuser Company. A woman walking her dog late at night, running across some multicolored lights hovering over the tree level in the woods on the Weyerhaeuser campus there. And then below that came out of the woods some kind of all she could explain it was some kind of a robot-looking entity that tried to communicate with her through some kind of an electronic or metallic kind of voice, she said. And this was just a couple days ago, actually. So fascinating stuff happening in this UFO, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena area right now.
Huh. Yeah, I'm curious about that one. You get so many theories about alien races, and I wish Keith was in right now to hear that report. They have technology, but so many people, the Greys they're actually a robot. No, they're not. The Greys they're their own race. I've never encountered an abductee that described a robot coming into their home to take them to a ship. It's always been a living entity, a living being.
Yeah, or
not a robot.
Unless you talk with Calvin Parker. Do you remember that Pascagoula, Mississippi case?
Yeah.
In 1974, he basically stated that they kind of look like the Michelin Man, kind of a robot-looking thing. That's an old case, but it's a very other interesting thing with potential entities that are not maybe living, but maybe some kind of a robot. But I agree with you, though.
You just reminded me of a story in Germany, actually. So I lived. My army housing was in a town callad Bad Windsheim, and we lived above a guest house, in which a guest house is a pub, and awesome little pub. I think it was a Bad Windsheim Cafe or something like that, and great beer. But we were friends with all the Germans that hung out there. Because I mean, when you're stuck in a spot for 3 years, you get to know the locals really well. And they knew I was into UFOs. They knew I was studying. This is back in the 90s. And we said goodbye to our friend, and he left. And we didn't see him for like 3 months. I swear, 3 months. We finally ran into him one night, and he said, "Oh my God, I was walking home down the sidewalk." And if you ever been to Germany to a small town, you don't have to have a car because there's sidewalks everywhere. But he was walking home, and he encountered what he said was an alien, and it looked like the Michelin Man. And he ran.
Oh my gosh!
And so, yeah, you just said the Michelin Man, and it reminded me of that story. But he vowed he was never going to drink from that point, and he didn't. It terrified the man so bad, he stopped drinking. Now, I've never heard of a German that didn't drink. I mean, they take lunch breaks, and they have a 2-beer limit at lunch. It doesn't matter what their job is. For a German to stop drinking, yeah, it must have terrified him pretty bad. But yeah, he described it as looking like a balloon creature, and it looked like the Michelin Man. But so why do you think UFOs are on the rise right now? Do you have a theory on that? Does anybody have a theory on that?
Well, I was just going to mention that. Very, very good. I mean, the whole idea of disclosure happening so quickly now and being talked about in the mainstream media, I think we on the UFO I-Team have actually found that people are coming out of the closet now and wanting to talk about their experiences because they see it on the mainstream media. They hear these reports, and so they say, "Well, hey, maybe it's good time for me to talk about what happened to me." And that's our theme basically on the UFO I-Team is tell us your story, and people are doing that right now.
Now, is there a way for you to go vet or verify the story?
Well, that's basically what we do. We're a highly educated group of field investigators with different expertise. So we typically will try to travel to those UFO UAP hotspots and gather information, scientific proof, or whatever we can to determine whether these are real sighting reports, whether they're real entities on the ground, whatever's going on there. So, my gosh, 2018. By the way, they call 2018 at this point the year of the UFO. That was basically, starting from the December article about New York Times coming out confirming the existence of UFOs by the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. And that was in 2017. But then the rest of 2018 was nothing but nonstop, slow, rolling disclosure.
I think 2019 is going to blow 2018 out of the water when it comes to the sighting side, though. It's already started.
Oh, you got it. Exactly.
I think you're right, though. I think 2018 was the year that everyone got their minds opened up, and now they're looking. So 2019's got more reports coming out. All right, So I want to talk about kids. Moving on. And this is mostly directed towards parents, and I want you guys to chime in. But kids, why are kids at the top of our triage tier? There's many reasons. One, kids are open. You usually close off towards adulthood or towards teenage years, and you don't see as much. But kids are a target for spirits and entities because of the fact that they're open. And so when your kid starts getting terrified of a certain room of the house at the age of 3 or 4, and they've never been terrified of that room before, a lot of parents will say, "Oh, it's just a 4-year-old acting out." And that's true. Sometimes it is. But when they start describing or pay attention to their artwork, pay attention to their drawings, and just